Please, Pat.
Mayor Smiley, and this might be a question for Director Decerbo, our organization, Libertarian Mutual Aid, had boots on the ground during the post-Helen hurricanes in Tennessee, North Carolina, and Florida. One of the biggest tragedies there was the inability of FEMA, the federal agency, to coordinate with a very active, very willing volunteer base. What can be done in Rhode Island so that, again, we all know that Rhode Islanders are some of the most generous people on the planet, that they can be coordinated ahead of time to organize and be available in the event of a hurricane or most likely a flash flooding event?
Clara, you want to talk about volunteer coordination efforts?
Thank you. That's a really great question, and it's a really important one because we know after disaster that volunteers are going to want to help our community. So on the state level, there's an organization called VOAD, Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster, that works on the state level. Here on the local level in Providence, we have a spontaneous volunteer management plan in place that we would activate for both donation management and volunteer management in the event that we had a major catastrophic event. And part of that plan is making sure that we are directing volunteers in the locations and doing the tasks that are most necessary at that time and that match with the voluntary services that they're offering. Some organizations specialize in sheltering, some do food distribution, some do muck-outs after flooding. So our spontaneous volunteer management plan is really to make sure that we are aligning the needs that we have in the city with the services and the help that is being offered to make sure that we're making the most of volunteers' time, because spontaneous volunteers are critical post-disaster.
Thank you.
Well, welcome everybody. We're here at Providence Emergency Management, PEMA, to talk about the summer storm and hurricane season. I know we're a week after the 4th of July holiday and it feels like summer storm season has already begun. And I want to acknowledge the hard work of the city employees who've already started with storm response in just the last week with power outages, some modest flooding, and some intense weather that we've already experienced. But hurricane season is still, we still have a long way to go. And so as we do every year, we're here to talk about the city's preparations for hurricane season and for extreme weather in general. You'll hear from shortly, and we're joined today by City Councilwoman Helen Anthony, who chairs the Finance Committee, but has also been one of the strongest leaders in the city and certainly on the City Council when it comes to climate resiliency and helping the city change its structure and its investments to adapt to a changing climate here in Providence. And our amazing director of the Providence Emergency Management Agency, PEMA, Clara Decerbo, and we'll introduce them in just a moment. Providence is in fact a coastal city, and we are no stranger to the impact of extreme weather, from intense storms and heavy flooding to dangerous summer heat, some of which we've experienced already this year. And while sadly the federal government is rolling back environmental protections and making drastic cuts to critical programs aimed to address the impacts of climate change, here in Providence we're going the other direction. We're making more investments, proactive changes to make our city safer, more sustainable, and less vulnerable to the impacts of extreme weather. That's why my administration, with strong partnership from the City Council, has prioritized proactive steps to protect our infrastructure, prepare our neighborhoods, and safeguard our neighbors before the next storm arrives. Earlier this year, we completed a major upgrade to our city's coastal defenses. Many people are familiar with the hurricane barrier and the street gates that accompany them. After decades of deferred maintenance, we have finalized all of our repairs to those street gates. You'll see that there had been road construction on South Water Street to fix the under street infrastructure that helps those street gates close. That work is now complete. And so the reliability on both Atwells Avenue, South Water Street, will make those street gates work more fully and easily. They required special assistance in the past. And so anyone who's in the flood zone protected by those assets should have increased confidence that there are hard infrastructure strategies to help protect them. We've also recently held our annual Emergency Advisory Board exercise with a full-scale simulation on multiple agencies and partners to start communication, response, and recovery plans. In a real emergency, coordination is everything. That's what they do here at PEMA. And we want to make sure that we have tested those systems prior to a real emergency. I want to encourage every Providence resident to take a moment to sign up for these systems. Notification is one of the most important ways in which you can protect yourself. So the most important thing to do is to sign up for Code Red. You can do that on the city's website if you go to the PEMA page at providenceri.gov. You can also sign up for PVD 311. We will push out notifications through both Code Red and 311 in the event of things like evacuation warnings, hurricane warnings, extreme weather alerts, and other restrictions to make sure that you stay safe in the event of a storm. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, is predicting that this year will be an above average Atlantic hurricane season, with as many as 19 named storms. We know that as the temperature rises, as the water is warmer and the air holds more moisture, we have the possibility, if not probability, of more storms, more extreme storms. And so it is mid-July and it feels like late August right now. Everyone should acknowledge that the climate is in fact changing and the effects will be felt in coastal communities like ours. So your city is as prepared as it can be, but we want every household to be prepared as well. That means signing up for emergency alerts, having an exit strategy and an emergency response plan, and Director Decerbo will talk about that in a minute. At the city level, we are clearing storm drains, maintaining our canals, sharing emergency tips, opening cooling centers, working with partners to make sure that our neighbors stay safe this summer. And so whether it's flooding, extreme heat, or severe storms, we're working together to keep all of us safe. I want to thank our team here at PEMA, the folks at the Department of Public Works, DPW, community partners, everyone who works around the clock to protect our residents. I mentioned earlier that we have great partnership in the City Council on many topics, but especially when it comes to climate resiliency. This is an area in which the administration and the council are in total lockstep. Councilwoman Helen Anthony has participated in a year-long process around stormwater management in our city, for which we're very grateful, and through this year's budget process, where it was able to find savings and other ways to make sure that the sustainability department remains fully funded, which was a priority and something that the councilwoman fought for personally. And so I want to thank her for ensuring that the city's investments in resiliency and climate preparedness were in no ways diminished. At this point, I'd like to invite Councilwoman Helen Anthony to the podium to say a few words.
Thank you all for being here today, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your leadership on resiliency. It's been such a pleasure to work together, and he is absolutely right. We are in lockstep. City Council and the mayor and his team are in lockstep on all the efforts that we're trying to put forth to address the issue of resiliency. Everyone here knows that climate change is one of the greatest challenges of our time. It's not theoretical, it's not political, it is our reality. Every month, every week, it seems we read new reports of devastating climate disasters in our country and around the world. Just last week in North Carolina and Texas, catastrophic flooding took more than 100 lives. As we prepare for another hurricane season, we must be clear-eyed about what is at stake. We can no longer behave as though climate change is a problem for other cities in other parts of the country, or worse, a problem for another generation. This is our problem now, one for which all of us must prepare both together and separately by educating ourselves about available resources, establishing family emergency plans, and prioritizing individual preparedness. We must also continue to prepare as a city. In the last few years, the city has made historic investments in building climate resilience, and I credit the mayor for his partnership in leading the way on critical repairs and update projects like the Fox Point Hurricane Barrier and other Allen's Ave sewer gate restoration, among other projects. We have set ambitious goals like requiring all municipal buildings to be carbon neutral by 2040. We passed an ordinance requiring large commercial institution and multifamily buildings to report their energy usage to the city. We made the City Department of Sustainability a permanent fixture in city government. It's been my honor to lead on these and other initiatives because I know that no one measure can solve the urgent and compounding crises that we will face in the years ahead as a result of climate change. With my colleagues on the council, including Council President Miller, Councilor Sue Anderbaugh, who, as many of you know, is a wonderful advocate for green infrastructure, renewable energy, and climate resilience, Councilors Gonsalves, Harris, and Majority Leader Espinal, whose wards, along with my own, make up the city's waterfront. We will continue to make investments that will prepare our city to survive and thrive in a changing climate. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'd now like to invite to the podium the Director of PEMA, Clara Decerbo, to talk about what PEMA is doing to prepare for the season and what you can do to be prepared for this year's hurricane season.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join us today to talk about hurricane season and extreme weather preparedness. As we continue through the summer season, we are facing increased risks of dangerous weather events, particularly extreme heat, flooding, and hurricanes. Today, I want to share some essential safety guidelines and preparedness information to help keep our communities and families prepared and stay safe. Extreme heat is one of the leading weather-related causes of death in the U.S., and it is critical that we ensure our families and neighbors know how to stay cool during extreme heat waves. Make sure that our most vulnerable members of our community are staying in air-conditioned buildings. If you do not have air conditioning, please visit public cooling centers, libraries, or malls. We have the city's cooling center locations posted on the PEMA website. So make sure that you're staying hydrated. Drink plenty of water throughout the day, avoid caffeine and alcohol, and please check on our community members. Our most vulnerable community members are those who are elderly, children, babies, and folks who have medical concerns and chronic health conditions. These individuals are most vulnerable to the impacts of extreme heat. Never ever leave children or pets in cars during extreme heat. It can be fatal, and we've had several children die already this summer in the U.S. from being left in vehicles. Also, never put a blanket over a stroller if you want to shade your baby. It can actually increase the temperature inside the stroller by 30 to 40 degrees and is extremely dangerous for young babies and children. Know the signs of heat exhaustion and heat illness and take them seriously. Look for symptoms like dizziness, confusion, nausea, and call 911 immediately. These can be symptoms of life-threatening heat illness. Flash flooding can happen extremely quickly, as all of us in Providence know, unfortunately, especially during heavy rainfall events like we have seen recently. Make sure you know your risk from flooding. You can visit floodsmart.gov to see if you live in a flood-prone area, or feel free to contact PEMA and we can help you recognize and check on the flood risk of your home. Never ever drive or walk through floodwaters. Just 6 inches of water can knock over an adult and carry a car off the road. Flood-related deaths are one of the leading causes of weather-related deaths, and most of those happen from people who are in vehicles and get swept away by floodwater. Make sure you're preparing your home. Clear drains and gutters, store valuables in waterproof containers, and move them to higher ground or a higher floor in your home. Make sure that you have an evacuation plan. Know multiple routes out of your home or your living area, and make sure that you're keeping your emergency kit ready to go. We are now in the midst of hurricane season, which will last through November. The most active months for hurricanes for New England are August through October, so now is the time to make sure that you and your family are prepared and have your kit and a plan to make sure that you're staying safe. Make sure that you have an emergency kit for your family and your pets. Include food, water, medications, flashlights, batteries, and important documents. We have a full list over there if you want a checklist to take home. Make sure that you're making a plan. Talk with your family and your household about where to go during an emergency, how you're going to communicate, and what to do if you're separated. Include pets in your planning and particular needs of your family members. If you have elderly family members, children, family members with access and functional needs or medical needs, Make sure that you're taking that into account with your planning. Make sure that you're staying informed. Monitor weather forecasts, and like the mayor said, please sign up for Code Red. That is the best way to get informed when we send emergency alert notifications. Be ready to evacuate in the event that you are ordered to do so or there's an emergency evacuation notification. Know your evacuation zone and have a transportation plan in case you need to evacuate. Make sure you're paying attention to alerts and notifications from the city during major weather events, and please take all emergency notifications seriously. Preparedness is all of our responsibility. By taking steps now, we can reduce risks to our families, our friends, and our community. We urge every resident to stay alert, stay informed, take preparatory action now, and take extreme weather seriously. Please visit readypbd.com, the PEMA website, under the preparedness page to find hazard-specific preparedness information available in English, Spanish, Portuguese, Khmer, Chinese, and Haitian Creole. Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor?
Take any questions? Please, Pat.
Mayor Smiley, and this might be a question for Director Decerbo. Our organization, Libertarian Mutual Aid, had boots on the ground during the post-Helen hurricanes in Tennessee, North Carolina, and Florida. One of the biggest tragedies there was the inability of FEMA, the federal agency, to coordinate with a very active, very willing volunteer base. What can be done in Rhode Island so that, again, we all know that Rhode Islanders are some of the most generous people on the planet, that they can be coordinated ahead of time to organize and be available in the event of a hurricane or most likely a flash flooding event?
Clara, can you talk about the volunteer coordination efforts?
Thank you. That's a really great question, and it's a really important one because we know after disaster that volunteers are going to want to help our community. So on the state level, there's an organization called VOAD, Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster, that works on the state level. Here on the local level in Providence, we have a spontaneous volunteer management plan in place that we would activate for both donation management and volunteer management in the event that we had a major catastrophic event. And part of that plan is making sure that we are directing volunteers in the locations and doing the tasks that are most necessary at that time, and that match with the voluntary services that they're offering. Some organizations specialize in sheltering, some do food distribution, some do muck-outs after flooding. So our spontaneous volunteer management plan is really to make sure that we are aligning the needs that we have in the city with the services and the help that is being offered to make sure that we're making the most of volunteers' time, because spontaneous volunteers are critical post-disaster.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
One more, just if I could. With the city's budgetary concerns, if you could talk about the type of funding that's available in the case of flash flooding is on every American's mind right now. And that appears to be the biggest challenge. It just blocks away from here. What type of financing funding is available in the event of an emergency?
So through a lot of hard work, and the budget has received now first passage, but not yet second passage, so we don't want to take anything entirely for granted. But critical services were protected in this budget despite being a tough and difficult budget, which means that the Department of Public Works, PEMA, and others will still be able to respond to meet the needs of our residents in the event of emergency. Our sewer crew, for example, is now busier than our snow crew, and that's a statement of the times. But they are still fully funded and able to respond. Some of the proactive investments that I referenced earlier, a lot of that we bond through, or we work through partners like the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. Those projects will continue as well. The area of real concern, and we're going to continue to advocate and work with our partners in the federal delegation, are for things like FEMA grants and other infrastructure grants that in the past we've received from the federal government. Think projects like dredging, canals and such. That has typically been funded in part or in whole through federal support. We're going to continue to seek those opportunities. We're going to continue to advocate for that federal funding. We know that might be at risk these days with the new administration. But in terms of immediate storm response, level of service at the local level, that will continue unabated. Yes.
Will people still be allowed to drive on bridges during storms, or will there be any traffic redirecting on behalf of the city?
This is why we encourage people to sign up for notifications, because it really depends on the storm. For flooding events, it's usually bridge underpasses, which are most unsafe and a concern. We usually deploy Providence Police and other emergency personnel to try to block access, but invariably, every time, there's a motorist who thinks they can make it, and they almost never do. Now, thankfully, we've not had tragic loss of life in recent years, but they get stuck. It requires emergency response, and so we, as Director Decerbo said, we encourage you to not try to drive through flooded underpasses. For overpasses and for other bridges in Rhode Island, a lot of it has to do with wind speed, and so it depends on the storm. Places like the Bridge and Turnpike Authority and REMA, the Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency, will put out notifications around highway safety and some of our larger bridges in Rhode Island about whether or not it's safe to travel or not. But it all depends on the storm, and so we strongly encourage residents, business owners, anyone who's interacting with the City of Providence to sign up for both 311 and Code Red. Thanks, everybody.